Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to step into heaven? Not in a dream, not in a vision painted by someone else's words, but as if you were really there. The air, still and golden. The silence, not empty, but alive, like the whole place was listening. And you, standing just beyond the void of everything you've ever known. That's what happened to me. And what I saw, it changed everything. Tonight, I'll take you with me, past the noise of the world, through the hush of eternity, and into a place where fear cannot follow. Soon, the screen will fade to black, the sound of rain will begin to fall, and we'll slip gently into the stillness together. But first, if you love Jesus, leave a like on this video, and tell me in the comments where you're listening in from. I love seeing how our little nighttime Bible community is growing around the world. And if you haven't yet joined us, hit subscribe and become part of something deeper. But now, close your eyes, let your breathing slow, and come with me to the gates of heaven. You stand before gates taller than mountains, yet they don't loom over you. They stretch upwards until their peaks disappear into soft light. The metal isn't gold or silver. It's something else entirely, glowing from within as if the morning sun lives inside its beams. You feel its warmth before your fingers even brush against the surface. When you finally touch them, the gates send a quiet hum through your fingertips. It's not a sound exactly, but a vibration you feel in your bones, steady and comforting like a heartbeat. The metal gives slightly under your palm, warm like skin warmed by summer sun. You notice small marks on the surface, not scratches, but something more like fingerprints pressed into the metal long ago. The air shifts as you stand there. At first it just smells clean, like after a rainstorm. Then deeper notes come through, something like fresh bread, wildflowers, and deep earth all mixed together. Each breath fills your chest more completely than air ever did before. You don't just breathe here, you drink the atmosphere down. Your pulse quickens, but not with fear. It's that feeling when you return home after years away and suddenly recognize everything. The kind of familiarity that lives deeper than memory. You realize you've been carrying the weight of this place your whole life without knowing it. Some quiet part you always remembered. Without any creak or groan, the gates begin apart. They move effortlessly, like they've been waiting for this exact moment. The opening reveals light so thick it seems you could walk on it. Golden ribbons curl outward across the ground toward your feet, wrapping gently around ankles like friendly cats. You pause at the threshold, not because you doubt, but because this deserves to be felt slowly. The light ahead doesn't burn or glare. It moves like liquid, swirling around your outstretched hand. Warmth seeps into your skin, not just surface heat, but something that reaches all the way through to settle between your ribs. With one step forward, everything changes. The world you knew doesn't vanish, so much as fade, like turning down a radio until you can't hear it anymore. All that tightness in your shoulders, the kind you stopped noticing years ago, simply isn't there anymore. Standing here feels like that first stretch when you wake up well-rested, only it doesn't fade after a moment. The gates ease shut behind you without sound. You glance back once and see they weren't keeping you out at all. They were keeping all that heaviness out. Now inside, your footsteps leave no marks on the path, yet you've never felt more present. Every sense sharpens, not in an overwhelming way, but like when you realize morning light has been filling the room slowly all along. Shadows don't exist here, not the dark patches under trees, not the corners where light struggles to reach. Everything glows from within, even the stones beneath your feet. Tiny flecks of light hover in the air like dust motes in sunlight, except they pulse gently when you walk through them. Each brush against your skin leaves behind a warmth that lingers. Colors here don't match earthly names. That tree ahead isn't green. It's every shade of growing things shifting in its leaves. The sky holds colors without names, shifting softly like cloth rippling in quiet wind. Even with eyes closed, the light remains, glowing gently beneath your eyelids. Your body feels both heavier and lighter at once, more solid yet completely free. When you raise a hand, It moves effortlessly, like water flowing back into its natural shape after being held in a tight fist. All those small aches you'd learned to ignore, the knee that always twinged, the shoulder that cracked when you moved it wrong, they aren't just gone. You realize they never belonged to you in the first place. The ground slopes gently upward ahead, paved with stones that seem polished smooth, yet grip your feet perfectly. Each step takes less effort than the last, as if the path itself helps you move forward. Small flowers nod by the roadside, their delicate faces turning slightly as you pass. They don't bow. They greet you as equals in this place. You don't know exactly where to go, yet feel no hurry. Somewhere ahead waits more than you can imagine, but standing here is enough for now. Breathing comes easier than ever before, each inhale drawing in peace alongside the sweet air. The light pulses gently around you, matching the rhythm of your own heartbeat. This isn't just another place. It's the place all other places dimly reflected. The gates behind you weren't a barrier so much as a home's welcome mat, worn by all those who came before you. Each detail here whispers that you were expected, that preparations were made long ago. Whatever comes next will find you ready. For now, simply standing here fills you completely. The path stretches onward, lined with trees whose branches form high arches overhead. Between the leaves, glimpses of something greater show through. No need to rush toward it. The whole journey lies ahead, and time here behaves differently. Each moment contains eternity now. You'll get there when you arrive, and it'll be exactly right. The light here doesn't shine like sunlight through a window. It doesn't come from any direction in particular. It simply exists all around you, like air. When you hold up your hand, your skin glows softly from within, as if you've swallowed moonlight. The light reveals more than shapes and colors. It makes everything look truer, more complete, like seeing a favorite painting after years of only knowing it from a faded photograph. Colors move through the air around you, not streaks or flashes, but slow swirls that change when you blink. Some hues have no name, deeper than violet, but brighter than blue. When you reach out, they shift toward your fingers like curious fish in a clear pond. The light plays across your skin, changing tone to complement you. Warmer when your hand turns one way, cooler when you tilt it another. It feels like the light is alive, responding to you. There's no need to squint here. Even when the brightness intensifies, it never hurts your eyes. The light adjusts itself perfectly to what you can bear, like a thoughtful friend dimming lamps when they see you're tired. Your pupils don't constrict or dilate. They simply receive exactly what they need. You realize earthly light was always either too harsh or too dim. When you walk forward, the light moves with you. It doesn't cast your shadow because shadows can't exist here. Instead, it wraps around you like a second skin, filling every crease and curve with gentle radiance. You feel it pressing lightly against you, not like heat, but like the weight of a thick blanket on a cold night. The pressure comforts without confining. The light isn't just something you see, it's something you breathe. With each inhalation, warmth spreads through your chest, not making you hot, but filling you with quiet contentment. Your lungs don't just take in air, they drink the light, and it satisfies something deeper than thirst. Your ribcage expands fully for the first time in your life, unrestricted. Pay attention to your heartbeat now. Notice how the light pulses with it, not following but perfectly synchronized. The glow around you brightens and softens in time with the blood moving through your veins. It's as if your body and the light share one rhythm, one steady song. You wonder if that's why you feel so complete here, because everything moves together in harmony. Close your eyes for a moment. Even behind your lids, the light remains. Not the red-black of sunlight through flesh, but the same clear glow you see with eyes open. It comes from within you now, gently illuminating your inner world. Thoughts feel clearer in this light, simpler, easier to hold without grasping. Problems that seemed complicated back home now appear straightforward in this clarity. Walk a few steps forward. With each footfall, the ground responds with a soft glow where you touched it. The patches of light don't fade immediately, but linger, showing where you've been. The trail behind you forms a gentle map of your journey so far, each step recorded in light. You notice the glowing footprints gradually dimming after you pass, making room for new ones ahead. This light does more than help you see. It helps you understand. Gazing at the trees around you, you realize their leaves don't just reflect light. They contain whole spectrums within each cell, shifting subtly as breezes pass through them. The bark on their trunks glows differently where your fingers brushed against it moments ago, remembering your touch. Everything here holds light within itself, sharing it freely. This is a mere brightness from some distant star. It feels personal, specific, made for your eyes alone, even as it shines on everything equally. You could search for a source but find none. The light simply is like air simply is, always present, always enough. Looking around, you see others also bathe in it, each person glowing slightly differently, the light adjusting perfectly for each soul it touches. The light here behaves nothing like earthly illumination because this isn't electricity or fire or sunlight. This is something older, truer, closer to the heart of creation. Every photon on Earth was just a faint echo of this. You could stare directly at the brightest point here for eternity and never need to blink. The light nourishes instead of exhausting, feeds instead of burning. Now stand still and let the light simply be. Notice how it fills every empty space without glare, how it reveals without exposing, illuminates without judging, how it makes every surface, every leaf, every blade of grass look loved. This light doesn't cast shadows because here, nothing needs hiding. Everything stands whole in this gentle brightness. What surrounds you isn't just radiance, it's revelation. Each color shift, each warm touch against your skin tells you something about the nature of this place. The way the light holds you speaks of care beyond measure. You realize you're not just seeing light, you're experiencing the nearness of something divine. Every glow is a whisper in a language deeper than words, saying simply, "You are known. You are home." Now let's listen together to what else this place wants to show you. Notice how the air carries not just light, but sound, though not like any sound you've known before. At first, the silence surprises you. Not the empty silence of a quiet room, but something fuller, like the pause between notes in a favorite song that makes the music whole. This quiet pulses gently against your eardrums, not as absence, but as presence. You feel it in your jaw first, the way tension melts from teeth you didn't realize were clenched. Then it travels down your neck, loosening knots along your spine one by one. The silence isn't perfect stillness. Beneath it moves something deeper, vibrations too low to hear, but strong enough to feel. They resonate through the soles of your feet, up your legs, settling in your chest like a cat's purr felt through fabric. These aren't sounds so much as movements of air against skin, waves without noise. Your body tunes itself to their rhythm without effort, breath slowing to match their steady pattern. A choir begins, though you see no singers. The voices don't come from any direction. They simply are, like daylight. Not words, but pure tones weaving together in patterns more complex than any earthly melody. High notes shine like sunlight on water. Low notes hum like distant thunder, softened by miles. The harmony makes your scalp tingle, not from volume, but from perfection. Each pitch placed exactly where it should be. No strain or sharpness anywhere. The air itself carries music, not the whistling of wind, but a constant hum like a plucked string that never fades. It changes as you move through it, matching your pace. Walk quickly and it rises slightly. Stand still and it settles into a soothing drone. The tone lives at the edge of hearing, more vibration than sound, tuning your thoughts like a finger circling the rim of a crystal glass. You realize these aren't separate noises, but parts of one continuous song. The tree leaves rustle in tempo with the distant voices. Your footsteps tap rhythm against the path. Even your heartbeat adds its steady pulse to the symphony. Everything here makes music simply by existing, and each contribution fits perfectly, like puzzle pieces clicking together after centuries apart. When you inhale sharply, the tone rises to meet it. When you sigh, the music softens accordingly. It responds not just to your actions, but to your emotions, quickening when excitement flashes through you, deepening when peace takes over. The song plays your soul back to you, not as echo, but as companion, walking alongside every feeling without judgment. Close your eyes, and the sounds grow richer. Behind your eyelids, the choir's harmonies take color, gold for high notes, deep blue for lows, spiraling together in patterns more beautiful than any fireworks. The vibrations in your chest paint warmth across your ribs, each breath adding new brushstrokes. You could listen forever and never grow weary, because this music renews rather than drains. Different moments bring different tones. Passing near water adds liquid notes that bubble up through the choir. Walking through grass introduces whispering tones like fingers dragging across harpstrings. Yet nothing ever clashes. Each new sound folds seamlessly into the whole the second it appears, as if it had always belonged. This isn't music made by instruments or voices alone. It's the sound of existence itself resonating. Atoms humming in perfect accord. Starlight vibrating across space-time. The first word ever spoken still, echoing gently through creation. You understand now why earthly music always left you wanting. It was only ever approaching this, never quite reaching the reality. Listen closer. Beneath the choir, under the air's hum, exists something deeper still. A bass line so low you feel it in your stomach rather than hear it. The foundation holding all other tones together. It reminds you of standing near a massive clock tower at midnight. That moment when the biggest bell's vibration seems to shift your very bones. This sound doesn't frighten, but steadies you, root deep and unshakable. Every noise on earth made you reach to adjust something. Volume up, window closed, ears covered. Here, each sound fits perfectly the instant it arrives. No harshness to make you tense, no suddenness to startle. The music anticipates your needs before you do, softening before you could wish it so, lifting exactly when it would help you most. This is what your ears were made to hear. Not the clatter and clamor of cities, not the muffled tones through headphones, but reality singing itself whole. The longer you listen, the more you realize every note loves you. Each harmony welcomes you home. The vibrations align your very cells like iron filings drawn into pattern by a magnet's pull. Peace isn't the absence of noise here. It's the presence of perfect sound. Now breathe deeply and feel how the air itself responds. Not just with sound, but with scent and texture. Another layer of this place waiting to embrace you. Notice how each inhalation brings more than oxygen. How the atmosphere here seems alive in ways that defy earthly logic. The air doesn't just fill your lungs, it communicates with them, sharing secrets written in molecules of grace. The first breath surprises you. It isn't just air entering your lungs. It feels like life pouring into you from some deeper source. Your chest expands more completely than ever before, ribs stretching without strain. There's no burn at the bottom of the inhale, no urge to cough or clear your throat. The air slides in smoothly, like water filling a glass already waiting to receive it. The air carries weight, but not heaviness. It rests against your skin like fine fabric, touching everywhere at once. When you move your hand, the air parts reluctantly, as if reluctant to break contact with you. It smells clean, but not sterile. More like valleys after rain mixed with sun-warmed fields right before harvest. Layers of scent unfold as you breathe deeper. Green leafy things, stone warmed by afternoon light, distant water, and something sweet like ripening fruit. You taste the air as much as breathe it. The flavor changes subtly with each inhale, sometimes like biting into a crisp apple, other times like drinking cool water from a mountain spring. There's honey in it too, not cloying but delicate, just enough to notice when you pay attention. Your tongue tingles slightly, not from spice, but from purity. as if tasting something unmixed for the first time. Your lungs don't fight here. Each breath draws in effortlessly, filling every tiny space without pressure. That constant tightness you lived with on Earth, the one you forgot about until it vanished, simply isn't present. You realize now how much work breathing used to require, muscles straining subtly with every cycle. Here, your body accepts air as effortlessly as waking accepts morning light. The air moves, but not like wind. It brushes against you like gentle hands, adjusting a blanket around sleeping shoulders. When you stand still, it pulls around you, calm and patient. When you walk, it parts just enough, then closes behind you like water after a swimmer. You notice it touches everyone differently, swirling playfully around children, resting steady near elders, always matching each person's need without asking. Your breathing synchronizes with everything around you without trying. The trees sway in time with your exhales. Distant clouds drift at the pace of your inhalations. Even the light pulses gently alongside the rise and fall of your chest. There's no effort in this harmony. Your body simply remembers its place in creation and settles into the rhythm it was designed for. When you exhale, something unexpected happens. Tiny burdens you carried without realizing lift away with each outward breath. Not dramatic healings, but quiet releases. That old resentment from years back, the anxiety about tomorrow's work, the lingering shame over that mistake you made. They don't vanish dramatically. They simply unhook themselves and drift away like leaves floating downstream. The air doesn't just sustain you, it communicates. With each breath, quiet understandings settle into your mind. Not words or visions, but deeper knowings, as if the air itself remembers everything and shares pieces when you're ready. You grasp truths about yourself suddenly and clearly, not as revelations, but as familiar facts finally acknowledged, like noticing your own hands in your lap. Your sense of smell sharpens here. You detect fragrances separated by impossible distances, blossoms from meadows away, fresh bread baking somewhere beyond the hills, rain falling far beyond sight. Yet nothing overwhelms. Scents layer perfectly, each distinct but harmonized, like instruments in skilled hands. You catch whiffs of your own memories too, your grandmother's kitchen, childhood blankets, places you felt safe long ago. The air carries warmth, but not heat. It nestles against your skin like a favorite sweater worn straight from the dryer. When you shiver slightly, from awe, not cold, the air around you thickens subtly, responding to your need before you fully feel it. There's no chill here. Even a memory of winter fades from your bones with each steady breath. Breathing becomes meditation without trying. You notice the slight pause between inhale and exhale lengthening naturally, the space where peace lives growing wider without effort. Your thoughts slow to match this rhythm until they sit quiet and content inside each breath. That mental chatter that used to fill your head, the constant commentary and planning, just doesn't seem necessary here. When you breathe deeply, the taste changes. Deeper draws bring richer flavors, earthier tones layered under the sweetness, something like cedar and fresh soil and deep water all mingling. Your body knows instinctively how much depth each breath needs, adjusting perfectly without conscious thought. Even your cells seem to drink this air differently, absorbing not just oxygen, but something more sustaining. Now breathe through your nose and notice the difference. The air flows smoother here, cleaner, leaving none of that dry tickle you knew on Earth. Each inhalation through your nostrils feels slick and cool, then warms perfectly before reaching your lungs. Childhood allergies, winter stuffiness, all those respiratory complaints, they belong to another existence entirely. Here, every passageway works exactly as intended. Breath becomes gift instead of necessity. You start to feel thankful for each cycle, noticing details you always took for granted. How the air tastes slightly sweeter when you're grateful. How your exhales grow longer when you're content. You realize breathing was always meant to be this way. Not just survival, but conversation, communion, constant receiving and releasing held in perfect balance. This air carries history. Certain breaths bring faint traces of ancient things, scrolls once read by candlelight, anointing oils poured centuries ago, incense from temple rites long completed. These aren't ghosts of sense, but living continuations, as if time here preserves rather than erodes. The air remembers everything worth keeping and shares those memories when they might comfort. Your shoulders drop without you telling them to. That permanent tension between your shoulder blades, the one massages never quite reached, melts away under the gentle pressure of this atmosphere. Sitting becomes effortless, posture correcting itself without strain, as if the air itself supports your spine perfectly. Standing requires no balancing act. You simply are, held upright as naturally as trees in still air. Each exhale carries prayers you didn't know you held. Silent hopes tangled in your ribs for years now float free without bidding. Anguished questions buried too deep for words dissipate into the gentle air. Not unanswered, but held carefully like fragile things placed in steady hands. You breathe out lifetimes of unspoken yearning and breathe in quiet assurance instead. This air was made for lungs like yours, not as an afterthought or basic necessity, but designed specifically for how your body works best. Every alveolus in your chest rejoices at the perfect fit, every blood cell receiving exactly what it needs without excess. You grasp suddenly why earthly air always left you vaguely wanting. It was only ever borrowing properties from this original. Now close your eyes and notice something surprising. Even without seeing, you sense the air's movement clearly, not as breeze against skin, but as presence surrounding you completely. It cradles you without smothering, fills without crowding. This atmosphere knows you, adapts to you, loves you actively with every molecule. Here, breathing isn't automatic, it's relational. Now, shift your focus gently downward. Notice how your body rests differently in this place. That familiar weight you carried through life, not just physical but something deeper, doesn't exist here. Your form feels lighter, not ghostly but perfected, moving as it was always meant to. Earthly aches and limitations fade into irrelevance as you discover how movement works in this realm. You take your first step and immediately notice the difference. There's no heaviness dragging at your feet, no familiar pressure against your soles. Your body moves as though floating in water, yet the air feels no thicker than before. Each motion happens effortlessly. Raising an arm takes no muscle. Turning your head requires no adjustment. You move simply by thinking about moving, your body responding instantly without strain. The constant background tension you carried on Earth, clenched jaw, tight shoulders, that subtle bracing against gravity, is gone completely. Muscles you'd forgotten existed relax all at once. Your spine lengthens as though invisible strings lift gently from your crown. Your knees unlock from their perpetual slight bend. Even your toes uncurl from their lifelong, quiet gripping against shoe leather. Every part of you rests in perfect alignment, held without effort by the air itself. When you stretch, there's no resistance. Arms lift overhead and keep going, shoulders opening beyond earthly limits. You twist at the waist and feel no catching your back. Bending forward, your fingertips brush the ground without that familiar hamstring tightness. Your body moves beautifully within its new parameters, discovering ranges of motion you never had before. Each test of your form brings only quiet delight at what's possible now. You press down with your feet, expecting the ground to push back, but it yields slightly instead, springing beneath you like grass-covered memory foam. Pushing off a little harder sends you upward much farther than intended, drifting back down slowly like a feather caught in warm air. Laughing makes you rise higher still, your own joy proving stronger than any muscle ever was. There's no fear in this floating, only the pleasant surprise of movement without consequence. Looking down, you notice something strange. Your feet leave no marks on the path, not even when you deliberately scuff them. The perfect white stones remain undisturbed, their arrangement flawless despite your passing. Yet you feel more physically present than ever before, not ghostly, but finally solid in the way you were always meant to be. The contradiction makes sense here. You don't impact this place because you belong here completely. Running feels like dreaming of running. Your legs move with perfect coordination, feet touching down just often enough to maintain direction. Air rushes past at exactly the right speed, enough to feel movement, never enough to sting your eyes. You could continue forever without tiring, lungs and muscles working in effortless cooperation. The old limitations, side stitches, burning thighs, gasping breath, seem absurd now, distant memories of some comical, broken prototype. Attempting a cartwheel demonstrates the change is best. On Earth, the move required careful planning. Hands down just so, legs swinging with precise momentum. Here, the thought alone executes the motion perfectly. You rotate smoothly through the air, never over or under-rotating, hands barely grazing the ground before you're upright again. The disorientation that should follow never comes. Your body always knows exactly where it is in space now. Testing your limits, you leap straight upward with arms outstretched. Earth's physics no longer apply. You soar like a bird catching a thermal, climbing until the treetops shrink below. The higher you go, the more natural it feels. Looking down doesn't trigger vertigo because falling isn't possible here. You simply stop ascending when your intention shifts, hovering effortlessly to take in a view. Coming down happens at whatever speed you choose. Descent's smooth as thought. Floating on your back midair feels completely normal. No part of you tenses against potential falling. Your spine relaxes fully as if lying on an invisible mattress that conforms perfectly. The air supports evenly across your whole body. No pressure points or uncomfortable angles. You could nap like this, cradled by the substance of heaven itself, fully rested without a surface beneath you. Rolling sideways sends you drifting gently toward a nearby tree. Rather than colliding, you glide right through its leaves without resistance, the branches parting like mist before reforming after you pass. Material things offer no barrier here, unless you will them to. You experiment with touching the trunk deliberately. Your hand meets solid bark just as easily as it passed through moments before. Everything responds to intention first, matter second. Dancing reveals the greatest freedom. Every move you ever struggled with on Earth now flows perfectly. Pirouettes continue until you choose to stop, arms always in position. Grand jetés carry you farther than possible, landing soundlessly on an already extended other foot. Your body knows steps you never learned, limbs moving through routines too beautiful to be imagined. The dance isn't performance here. It's simply existence expressed through motion. Now still yourself, and simply float where you are. Notice how utterly normal this weightlessness feels, like remembering something long forgotten, rather than experiencing something new. Your earthly body was always the limitation, this one the truth. The freedom you feel isn't given. It's simply what remains when all constraints are lifted. You weren't made for heaviness. You were made for this. Every movement here carries purpose without effort, intention without strain. Sitting, standing, turning, none require the planning or compensation they once did. Your body moves as naturally as thoughts pass through your mind. Each motion self-contained and perfect. The more you test this new form, the clearer it becomes. Exhaustion was never part of the original design. Look around now at where this unburdened body has brought you. The landscape stretches out in every direction, more vibrant than before. Colors seem richer from this height, details sharper. You realize your earthly sight was just as limited as your movement was encumbered. Now free in both form and perspective, the full beauty of this place becomes clear. Every hue, every shape calls for closer examination. At first the colors overwhelm you, not because they're too bright, but because they don't behave like earthly colors should. That tree ahead doesn't stay green as you approach it. The leaves shift through shades you can't name, each hue richer than anything you've seen before. They don't just change with the light, they change with your breathing, pulsing gently as you exhale. The longer you look, the more shades appear, not just variations of green, but colors that seem to exist between the usual spectrum, tones that have no name but feel familiar anyway. The grass underfoot moves like liquid light. Each blade contains multitudes, not a flat green, but layers of color swirling inside. It recalls every stage of growth at once. The fresh brightness of new sprouts, the deep maturity of midsummer, the golden wisdom of autumn, all present together in every single stem. When the breeze passes through, the colors don't just sway. They flow into each other, blending like paint stirred slowly in water. Your shadow would interrupt this dance, but here you cast no shadow, only light reflecting back in new patterns. Flowers glow from within, not like bulbs switched on, but gently, the way morning light fills a room before sunrise. Their petals show colors behind colors, reds with hints of blue beneath, purples that shimmer gold when you move your head. They don't hurt your eyes to look at, though their brilliance outshines any earthly bloom. There's no fading at the edges either. Each hue stays crisp whether you focus on it or not. Their centers pulse softly, not like flashing lights, but like fireflies dimming and brightening in perfect rhythm. When you reach to touch them, something surprising happens. The colors respond to your fingers, not scattering or darkening, but swirling to meet your touch. Petals glow brighter where your skin makes contact, showing patterns you hadn't noticed before. The blues deepen, the pinks warm, as if the flowers were always capable of these shades, but waited for your touch to reveal them. There's recognition in this, like old friends smiling when you finally see what's been there all along. The sky doesn't sit still here. It breathes with you, shifting gradually through tones no painter could mix. Not just simple blues, gradients that start as the barest morning glow at the horizon and build to richness overhead. No two glances show the same color exactly, yet it never feels unstable. The changes aren't sudden. They flow like honey pours, slow and inevitable. Sometimes it seems the sky reflects your thoughts, growing mistier when you're peaceful, clearer when you concentrate, always responding without words. Then come the rainbows, not just arcs after rain, but spirals that twist through the air unexpectedly. Some hover low to the ground, small enough to step through. Others stretch, so wide you can't see their ends. They form without water or prisms, simply appearing when the light feels like it. Their colors make earthly rainbows seem dull by comparison. These have layers within layers, not just 7 bands, but endless variations between each. They shimmer without vanishing, holding their shape as long as you care to watch. Stones along the path shine with inner light. They're not transparent, but something inside them glows softly, not enough to notice until you pause nearby. Each one contains different patterns, some like frozen flame, others like captured galaxies. When you pick one up, it warms slightly in your palm, the colors inside flowing toward your touch. None feel heavy or cold, just pleasantly solid, humming faintly like tea kettles kept at perfect temperature. The longer you hold them, the more details emerge. Tiny flecks of light moving inside like fireflies behind stained glass. Water here holds color differently. Streams flow with what looks like liquid gemstones, sapphire blues and emerald greens shifting as the current moves. But when you dip your hand in, the liquid clears around your fingers, showing every pebble beneath with perfect clarity. The colors don't wash away. They regroup around your wrist, clinging softly like friendly fish nibbling without fear. Pools reflect more than what's above them. They show hints of something beyond the surface, depths that shouldn't be visible from the angle you're standing. Even the air carries color, not as haze, but as presence. Sometimes golden threads appear between trees, like sunlight made tangible. Other times, tiny sparks drift by, not fireflies, but pinpricks of radiance blinking in and out gently. They don't distract so much as accentuate, drawing attention to shapes and spaces you might have missed. Nothing here hides in shadows. The colors ensure every detail remains visible without glare or harshness. The ground changes too, not in patches like seasons, but fluidly. One step lands on moss so vibrantly green it seems painted, only for the next to find earth glowing faintly copper. Paths don't stay uniform. They ripple with subtle shifts that make walking interesting without ever becoming confusing. Where your feet touch, the ground responds, not by dimming, but by brightening slightly, like stepping on piano keys that play light instead of sound. At some point you realize, these aren't just decorations. The colors speak in their way. That flash of silver in the stream, a promise. The deepening purple in the flowers, comfort. The shifting sky, patience. They communicate without words, each hue carrying meaning deeper than vocabulary allows. Things you've always known, but couldn't explain, now show themselves plainly, evident in the play of light across every surface. Look at your own arms. They glow faintly, not with startling brightness, but with steady warmth. The color changes slightly as you flex your fingers, more golden when you stretch, softer blues when relaxed. Your whole body belongs here, not separate from the colors around you, but part of them. The light doesn't shine on you. It moves through you, joining outer radiance with inner glow until the difference disappears. Now reach forward slowly. Notice how the air resists just slightly, not like pushing through water, but like moving your hand through hanging tapestry. Every shift creates new color patterns against your skin. Pale greens where the light filters through trees, gold where open space meets your fingertips. You can't grasp these colors. They don't work that way. But you can feel them respond to your presence, adjusting their dance to include you in their rhythms. This is how creation was meant to be seen. Not in fragments, but whole. Not in dull approximations, but full truth. Every shade exists here, not for beauty alone, but because beauty equals truth in this place. What looks like decoration is actually revelation. Colors not added to things, but emerging from their deepest nature. Nothing here wears disguises or dull coverings. Everything appears exactly as it is, glowing with its own existence. Now lower your hands and feel the world beneath them. Those colors may dance for the eyes, but textures here speak to the skin in equally remarkable ways. What appears smooth might yield surprises under your fingers, sharing secrets colors alone can't tell. You reach out to touch the nearest tree trunk, expecting rough bark. Instead, your fingers meet something warm and alive. The texture shifts beneath your palm, not woody but velvety, like the softest leather stretched over living muscle. It pulses gently, matching the rhythm of your own wrist. Tiny ridges form where your fingertips press, guiding them along invisible patterns hidden beneath the surface. The tree responds to your touch by warming slightly, inviting you to stay connected. There's no sticky sap or splinters, just perfect give and take between your hand and the ancient life before you. Water flows differently here. Scooping a handful from a nearby stream feels like gathering liquid silk. It doesn't slip through your fingers so much as caress them, parting only when you allow it. The surface tension holds shapes longer. Cupped palms become temporary bowls without effort, the water molding itself perfectly to your grasp. When you dip both hands and up to your wrists, the sensation isn't wetness, but tenderness, like being embraced by something affectionate yet weightless. Pulling away leaves no clinging droplets, just skin glowing faintly where the water touched you last. Flowers bend toward your touch before contact happens. Their petals yield without resistance, yet never tear or bruise beneath curious fingers. Each variety feels distinct. Roses like brushed velvet, daisies like satin-edged clouds, lavender spikes whispering against your skin like fine embroidery. They don't wilt from handling, but flourish under attention, colors brightening where stroked gently. Even the most delicate blossoms support your full weight if you lean on them, springing back perfectly when you rise. Their stems don't snap but sway with you, partner dancers in silent choreography. Bare feet discover wonders in the grass. Each blade adjusts beneath your steps, firm enough to walk on, yet yielding as fresh moss. The texture changes subtly across the expanse. Some patches springy like well-tended lawn, others dense as carpet woven from light. When you kneel to run fingers through it, the grass parts like a beady hair under a comb, each strand smooth and cool. Tiny flowers peek between green strands, their miniature petals softer than eyelashes against your ankles. Nothing pricks or scratches. Every edge has been gentled, every potential irritation transformed into pleasure receptors instead. Fabric exists here without loom or needle. Drapery cascades over your shoulders if you desire it, weightless as cobwebs, but warm as wool blankets. The material adjusts instantly, loose where you want airflow, snug where comfort requires support. Running your hand along your sleeve reveals textures that shift with your mood. Silk one moment, linen the next, always exactly what you need without asking. These garments clean themselves with motion, stains lifting away before they set, wrinkles smoothing like memories of discomfort finally released. Stones lining the path invite handling. Unlike Earth's cold rocks, these warm to your touch immediately. Their surfaces vary, some polished smooth as glass, others finely dimpled like orange peel, all pleasant against your palms. When you squeeze one lightly, it yields just enough to notice, then firms up again when released. No two share identical textures, yet all feel distinctly right. Their differences speaking through your fingertips like dialects of the same comforting language. Even the largest boulders welcome climbing, their surfaces subtly gripping your soles when needed, then smoothing again for easy descent. Every texture communicates beyond physical sensation. The tree bark shares quiet steadfastness through your palm. Flowers transmit joy at being noticed. Water carries renewal along its liquid threads. Even the air touching your face speaks, its caress whispering wordless reassurances with every pass. Objects here don't merely exist. They converse through touch, confirming your place in creation's continuum. Where earthly materials divide by hardness or softness, here everything finds perfect harmony between the two extremes. The ground itself adjusts to your needs. Sit anywhere, and it contours to your shape, supporting without pressing, cradling without confinement. Stand after hours of rest, and no stiffness follows. Muscles awaken refreshed as if floating all along. Lie down face up, and the earth cradles each vertebra individually. Roll onto your side, and the surface adapts seamlessly beneath you. No rocks jab unexpectedly. No dampness seeps through. Just perfect accommodation for every possible position. Fruits hanging from trees invite tasting. Their skins smooth as eggshells, yet parting effortlessly under gentle pressure. Peeling happens naturally, sections separating like petals from roses at just the right moment. The flesh inside yields perfectly, never mushy, never tough, always at the ideal stage of ripeness. Juice flows without dripping, stopping exactly at your wrist unless deliberately shaken free. Seeds remove themselves before reaching your tongue, vanishing into the earth to continue generous cycles elsewhere. Touching your own skin surprises you too. Cheeks feel softer, fingertips more sensitive, elbows no longer dry or rough. Running hands up your arms reveals flawless texture. No bumps or imperfections, just even smoothness humming with quiet vitality. Scars and calluses from earthly life are gone. Not erased like mistakes, but transformed into something better, like painful words rewritten into poetry by patient hands. Textures merge seamlessly here. Water and air blend where streams meet mist without surface tension. Flower petals merge with breezes when carried off, their essence remaining even as form changes. Your fingers pass through tree bark slightly when you will it to happen, the boundary between you and nature becoming tender rather than absolute. Everything touches everything else while retaining perfect individuality, connection without confusion, unity without loss. This tactile world doesn't overwhelm, but completes. Each texture fills gaps you didn't know existed. Rough enough to interest, smooth enough to comfort, varied enough to explore forever without exhaustion. Your body remembers this truth. That touch was never meant to warn or hurt, but to unite and heal. Every sensation here feels like coming home to senses you were always meant to have. Now step forward lightly. Notice how the passage of moments differs here. Not in ticks or talks, but in breaths and heartbeats. Time doesn't push or drag anymore. It accompanies like a friend, matching your perfect walking pace. The texture of minutes has changed. No rough edges rushing you forward. No heavy stagnation holding you back. Just seamless flow from now to now. Each moment its own revelation. You notice something strange about the experience of passing moments here. There's no sun arcing across the sky to mark hours. No shadows lengthening to show progress. Yet everything moves beautifully forward without those markers. What feels like an hour could be minutes or days. It doesn't really matter. The flowers don't wilt while you admire them, yet they still sway with gentle change. Time isn't absent. It's just no longer in charge. That conversation you're having with a passing stranger could last what seems like days. Yet when you finish, you realize no fatigue is set in. Your mouth isn't dry from talking. Your legs haven't grown tired from standing. The exchange exists outside duration, important not for how long it lasted, but for what was shared. You find yourself recalling childhood memories while also experiencing current joys, both equally vivid without one fading for the other's sake. Walking through the meadows illustrates this clearly. The path never grows long or short based on your steps. Each one carries you forward without the pressure of distance left to cover. The horizon neither approaches nor recedes. It simply is, remaining beautifully present whether you walk toward it or stay still. There's no need to rush or linger. Everything exists at its proper pace without clocks to measure it. Meals here defy earthly expectations. The feast laid before you doesn't grow cold if you pause to appreciate it. Each bite remains perfectly warm, yet you never feel overly full. The flavors continue revealing themselves no matter how slowly you eat. There's no last call anxiety, no worry that others will finish before you. The food renews itself naturally, as though time circles backward and forward simultaneously in this one moment at the table. Children playing nearby demonstrate time's transformation best. Their laughter continues without growing hoarse. Their games evolve without ever tiring. They build sandcastles that neither crumble nor stand too long, dissolving exactly when the joy of making them reaches completion. They run without panting, dance without sweating, every motion sustained by something other than endurance. Their play exists as pure expression rather than pastime. You try counting seconds out of habit, but lose track almost immediately. The numbers stop making sense because the spaces between them stretch and compress freely. One Mississippi becomes an eternity, then 10 seconds pass in what feels like one breath. Your heartbeat stays steady through it all, unconcerned with keeping rhythm for time's sake. Even breathing becomes something that happens naturally rather than serving as a biological clock. Visiting with loved ones proves most revealing. Your grandmother's hands remain both young and wise as she holds yours, her face showing every age at once without contradiction. Stories from her childhood feel as immediate as her words about today. No one rushes the conversation forward or drags it back. Every memory and current thought exist together like instruments in perfect harmony. The trees grow without your seeing it happen. One moment they stand at one height, then at another, never visibly stretching, yet clearly maturing. Their leaves change colors fluidly, not on seasonal schedule, but in response to something deeper. Rings in their trunks tell stories not of years past, but of moments fully lived, each one complete in itself, rather than building towards something else. Sitting by the water's edge, you watch reflections shift without any movement from the object or the pool. Faces of people you love appear alongside scenes from distant places, all equally clear without competing for attention. The images don't fade. They simply make room for new ones when appropriate. Past and future mingle freely, neither one more important than what's before you now. Sleep here differs completely. When you rest, it's not because night has fallen or energy waned. Your eyes close when reflection calls for it, opening again when renewal completes itself. Dreams blend seamlessly with waking moments, less like interruptions than natural continuations. You never wonder how long you've slept, only that the rest was exactly what you needed. There's no grogginess upon waking, just gentle transition between states of being. Work carries new meaning without deadlines. Projects continue until they reach their natural conclusion, whether that takes moments or what might have been years back home. The satisfaction comes from doing rather than finishing, creating rather than producing. Tools never wear out, materials never deplete. Everything renews in perfect time with the task at hand. Labor flows like breath, rather than like drudgery bound to clocks. Walking through the city streets reveals timeless architecture. Buildings don't decay with age. They mature like fine wine, each era of their existence simultaneously present. Cobblestones show centuries of footsteps without wearing smooth, their stories remaining fresh through the ages. The marketplace bustles without rush hours or slow periods, just continuous exchange flowing at the pace of real connection. Music explains it best when you hear it. The songs have no set duration. They expand to contain every note needed, contract to hold only the essentials. Melodies circle back on themselves without repetition, always fresh yet familiar. Dancers move in perfect time with the music, yet the rhythm follows them rather than dictating their steps. The performance doesn't end. It just gradually becomes something else when its purpose is fulfilled. You realize this is why heaven felt familiar immediately. Your soul always knew time was never meant to be a cage, but a medium to move through freely. Those moments of transcendence on earth, when play-made hours feel like minutes or meditation stretch seconds into depth, were glimpses of this reality. Here, what was glimpsed becomes entire existence. The tyranny of clocks fades into irrelevance, replaced by the gentle cadence of eternity moving at the speed of love. Now let your heart open to feelings deeper than you've ever allowed. Not fleeting emotions, but timeless ones, the kind that shaped you before time began. They wait patiently beneath the surface, ready to rise when you give them space. Unlike earthly passions that flicker and fade, these remain steady as breath, constant as light. You notice something new about how you feel here. It's not that the emotions are stronger exactly, but cleaner, like dirty glass wiped clear. That constant low hum of worry that lived behind your ribs back home, gone without you noticing when it left. What remains isn't empty space, but something solid, a quiet certainty that fills you without crowding. Joy feels different here. Not the quick bursts of happiness you knew before, but something wider and steadier. It doesn't spike and fade with good news or nice surprises. It just exists in you like your bones exist, always there, always holding you up. Laughter comes easily, but there's no edge to it, no catching your breath afterward. Each chuckle warms you straight through without leaving you drained. Peace isn't something you find here, it finds you. Not the absence of trouble like when conflicts end on earth, but a positive presence, all its own. It wraps around your shoulders like a favorite sweater, familiar and comforting without smothering. Your thoughts quiet without effort, not because you force them, but because they finally have nothing to push against. That clenched feeling behind your forehead, the one you stopped noticing years ago, it's gone completely. Love isn't directed just at people here. It's in everything, like the air you breathe. Not romantic love or family love specifically, just love as simple fact, as basic to this place as gravity was to earth. Walls embrace you as you walk past. Trees lean slightly toward you like old friends waving. Even the light seems affectionate, touching your skin gently rather than just shining on it. You realize love back home was always a glimpse of this, like catching whiffs of bread baking somewhere out of sight. Fear can't take root here. not even as memory. When you try to recall what being afraid felt like, it slips away like dreams after waking. That pit in your stomach before hard conversations, the tightness when thinking about the future, those belong to someone else's story now. Danger doesn't exist here, so neither does the tension waiting for it. You walk freely without looking over your shoulder, because nothing here could possibly hurt you. Being known completely should feel exposing, but it doesn't. Every flaw and failure lies open like pages in a book, yet no shame comes with them. The parts you hid most, the petty thoughts, the secret angers, they don't bring condemnation. They're simply seen, understood, and folded into the whole of you without condemnation. It's like when sunlight hits a dusty room, showing every speck clearly, yet making the space warmer rather than uglier. Tears come sometimes, but they're different. Not the hot, messy crying of earth, but quiet spills of something sweet. They leave you lighter rather than puffy-eyed, like spring rain washing dust from leaves. Some flow for no reason you can name, carrying away things you didn't know needed releasing. Others come when beauty overwhelms you, not because it's too much, but because you can finally let it all the way in. They're not tears of pain, but of full hearts spilling over. Emotions flow through you without getting stuck. Back home, happiness could sour into anxiety about losing it. Anger tended to linger like bad tastes. Here, each feeling comes whole, stays as long as needed, then moves on without leaving residue. They're like colors in a sunset, deep while they last, but fading naturally when their time passes, making room for the next shade. Nothing festers or piles up. Grief exists here, but transformed. Missing people still on earth carries no sting, just quiet longing edged with certainty. The sharp pain of old losses dissolves, leaving only the love that sparked them. Regrets don't weigh you down anymore. They become lessons etched gently rather than wounds that reopen. Even sorrow feels clean, like winter branches waiting patiently for spring rather than permanent endings. Loneliness can't survive in this place. Even alone, you feel connected to the air that carries your breath, to the ground supporting you, to the light that knows your shape. Solitude becomes sweet rather than empty, because nothing here is ever truly separate. That ache you carried, the one that said no one truly understands, it doesn't resonate anymore. Here, being yourself means belonging completely. Anger has no place here, not because it's forbidden, but because nothing sparks it. Injustice doesn't exist to provoke rage. Cruelty can't enter to breed resentment. Even memories of wrongs done to you lose their heat, becoming stories without power to hurt. What once made your fists clench now barely draws a shrug. Not because you've forgotten, but because it finally can't touch you anymore. Everything you feel here flows together like rivers into the sea, distinct yet united. Joy doesn't fight sadness. Peace doesn't war with passion. They weave together in patterns too complex to follow yet simple to experience. In this place where time doesn't rush you and light shows truth plainly, your heart finally works as designed. Not a thing to manage, but a gift to receive. Now let your thoughts slow like leaves settling after a breeze. The emotions will keep humming softly, but your mind can rest fully for the first time. Those racing thoughts that never quit. The ones that replayed conversations or rehearsed tomorrow's tasks. They don't plague you here. Your mind clears without effort, not going blank, but becoming perfectly ordered, like a library where every book has its proper place. The quiet inside matches the quiet outside at last. At some point, you notice the quiet in your mind. Not empty quiet, but the kind that comes when every thought is exactly where it belongs. That mental static you lived with back home, the noise of unfinished tasks and circling worries, it's completely gone. Ideas move through you now like clear water over smooth stones. No turbulence, no muddy confusion stirring them up. Your mind works without effort, the way lungs breathe or hearts beat when everything functions as designed. Old thought patterns simply don't track here. The looping anxieties that used to play like broken records, the repetitive daydreams you couldn't shake. They've lost their grooves. Your mind doesn't race ahead to imagined futures or linger painfully on past mistakes. It simply rests in now, fully present without straining to stay there. Mental burdens you carried for years are gone, so completely you can't even recall what made them feel so heavy. Memories return when you call them, but changed. The painful edges have been smoothed like sea glass, tumbled in gentle waves. Joyful moments shine brighter, their colors more vivid than when you first lived them. That birthday party, when you turned 10, plays back with all its original wonder. None of the adult stresses that later colored it. The hospital room where you said goodbye now carries only the love spoken there, none of the grief that once overwhelmed it. Your past hasn't been erased, it's been redeemed. Creativity comes differently here. Ideas appear whole rather than building piece by piece. Solutions to problems you pondered on Earth arrive fully formed, like someone gently placing finished puzzles in your hands. Writing or composing or designing flows effortlessly. Your mind makes connections before you can second-guess them. Projects complete themselves naturally, stopping exactly when they've said what needed saying rather than when energy ran out. Thinking requires no concentration. Complex understandings come as easily as breathing. No furrowed brows or restarting sentences. You can follow 6 trains of thought simultaneously without losing track, each one clear as separate streams merging in a river. Mental fatigue doesn't exist because your mind finally works with instead of against itself. Every neuron firing in perfect harmony. Your soul and mind align here like never before. No more gap between what you believe and what you feel. No disconnect between your values and actions. The mental gymnastics of justifying bad choices, the self-deceptions required to live with compromises, those struggles can't survive this clarity. Every thought, memory, and idea fits together seamlessly, each one supporting the others like stones in a well-built wall. This is the rest Scripture promised, not just an absence of work, but the presence of perfect peace. Your mind isn't blank, but fully engaged without strain, active without exhaustion. Like a well-tended garden, thoughts grow naturally here, neither forced nor neglected, but thriving in their proper balance. The constant self-monitoring, the internal editor criticizing every idea before it forms. Those voices are silent now. What remains is simply you, thinking as you were always meant to think. Mental stillness isn't boring here. It's rich with quiet wonders. Not the numb silence of an empty room, but the full quiet of a forest at dawn, alive with possibilities. Insights rise gently like fish in a still pond, breaking the surface without splashing. Questions find answers without having to hunt them down. Knowledge comes less like studying and more like remembering things you'd simply forgotten you knew. Your earthly mind was always fighting against distraction, against fatigue, against the limits of human thought. Here, those battles are over. The mind you have now thinks without straining, learns without memorizing, understands without explaining. Ideas don't slip away mid-thought. Focus doesn't waver unless you want it to. Every mental faculty works in harmony, like an orchestra, where all the instruments know their parts perfectly. Past traumas don't haunt you anymore. The anxious thoughts, the depressive cycles, the obsessive patterns, they're not suppressed but transformed. Their energy has been repurposed, like destructive storms, turned to gentle rains that nourish instead of flood. Your mind touches painful memories lightly now, acknowledging them without reliving the hurt. The neural pathways that once carried anguish now hum with quiet acceptance instead. Even memories of mental illness are different here. That year of depression plays back with new understanding. You see the courage it took to endure, not just the suffering. The nights of insomnia now reveal the comforting presence that was with you even then. Your mind doesn't edit the hard chapters out of your story, but reads them now with divine commentary that changes everything. Decisions come easily here. No more agonizing over every choice. No second guessing once you've chosen. You see options clearly, their consequences unfolding before you like paths on a well-marked trail. Indecision can't take root because your mind perceives truth directly rather than weighing confused signals. What once took weeks of deliberation now resolves in moments, not hastily, but with complete certainty. This mental rest affects everything. Conversations flow without misunderstandings. Learning happens without struggle. Even silence between words carries meaning now, not awkwardness. Your mind mirrors the peace around you, not by emptying, but by filling completely with what's good and true. Thought itself has become a kind of prayer, not strained meditation, but natural communion. Now look around with this quiet mind. See how the landscape stretches endlessly in every direction, not overwhelming, but welcoming. The vastness ahead isn't daunting because your thoughts aren't rushing ahead to map it all. You can take in the grandeur piece by piece, knowing each view will reveal itself when the time is right. Distances don't intimidate the way they once did. With a mind this clear and patient, every journey becomes its own reward. The horizon calls without urgency, each new perspective unfolding as you're ready. Mountains in the distance don't make you calculate slopes or gear. They simply invite admiration. Valleys below don't trigger worries about the climb back up. They promise rest whenever needed. Your mind accepts each scene as given, no longer projecting earthly struggles on a heaven's geography. Here, rest isn't something you do between efforts. It's the constant background to everything. Thinking, moving, speaking, all happen from this place of deep serenity. Your mind hasn't shut down. It's finally woken up fully, operating at full capacity without strain or confusion. This is the promise fulfilled. Complete peace that guards your heart and mind. Here in this place where every thought aligns with truth. Now let your eyes drift over the expanses ahead. Each area waits with its own wonders. With rest this deep and a mind this clear, you're ready to explore without exhaustion, taking in each new sight with the quiet joy of unhurried discovery. You stand at the edge of a landscape so vast it makes your heart quiet just to see it. The horizon stretches farther than your eyes can follow, yet somehow you don't feel lost in it. The space around you doesn't shrink you down, it lifts you up, making you feel held rather than overwhelmed. Paths wind through flowering fields toward distant mountains that should take days to reach, but part of you knows they're already close. Distance here works differently. When you think about walking toward those mountains, they seem to lean in slightly, as if making the journey easier for you. Your first few steps confirm it. Each one carries you farther than it should, covering ground without rushing. The path adjusts to your pace, shortening when you want comfort, lengthening when you crave adventure. You're not bound by earthly measures here. What might have been miles back home could be a short stroll or a meaningful pilgrimage, depending on what your soul needs most. The expanses should feel intimidating, but they don't. Even as valleys drop away below you and peaks tower above, everything feels perfectly sized. You're clearly small in this grandeur, yet never unimportant. It's like how children feel safe in loving homes. The bigness around them means care, not threat. Every sweeping view seems designed to delight rather than dwarf you. Hills roll like waves frozen at their most beautiful moment, each crest placed exactly where it brings the most joy. New wonders appear with every turn, each one calling gently for your attention. A waterfall appears where there wasn't one before, its mist catching rainbows as you approach. Meadows bloom with flowers and patterns that shift when you blink, playing with colors just for the pleasure of it. Every direction invites exploration without pressure. There's no need to see everything at once. The landscape patiently waits for your discovery, revealing itself piece by perfect piece. The paths know where you need to go better than you do. When you pause uncertainly at a fork in the road, one way glows softly, guiding you toward what fits your heart best. It might lead to a quiet grove where you can rest, or to a high vista that lifts your spirit. Always exactly what you needed without you having to ask. Walking becomes effortless as the ground itself helps you along, smoothing where it needs to, rising gently where it should. Nothing here is random. Each pebble on the path has purpose. What seems overwhelmingly large at first glance soon feels intimate. The vast sky lowers like a parent bending to a child's level, making infinity graspable. Distant mountains lean in close when you grow curious about their slopes. Rivers narrow to stepping stones, just as you wonder how to cross. Space in heaven doesn't separate. It connects, adjusting constantly to create closeness between all things. The same expanse that could hold galaxies also makes room for your quietest thoughts. You realize size here isn't about measurement. Those towering trees aren't tall to impress you. Their height sings a song about strength that can't be contained. The endless fields don't sprawl to overwhelm. They demonstrate abundance beyond counting. Every dimension speaks meaning rather than statistics. The small stream matters as much as the great sea, not because they're equal in volume, but because both overflow with purpose. This vastness isn't empty space to cross. It's full of intention, every part working together in harmony. When birds take flight from distant cliffs, their wings beat in time with breezes that later brush your cheek. Rain showers falling seen in the far hills will feed streams that eventually pass your resting place. Nothing exists in isolation. The whole landscape breathes as one living thing, and you're part of that breath now. What looked at first like simple beauty reveals itself as careful thought. That arrangement of trees shelters nesting birds, while also framing the perfect view of sunset. The winding path not only leads you forward, but allows dozens of gorgeous perspectives along the way. Grand and small work together. The Milky Way above mirrors the fireflies winking in the grass below, each one placed where they tell the same story of light in different scales. Your place in all this becomes clear. You're not a visitor passing through, but part of the landscape itself. The air moves differently where you walk. Flowers turn toward you not out of curiosity, but because they recognize you belong. However far you wander, you never leave home, because home here expands to hold you wherever you go. The vastness wasn't made to impress you, but to hold you safely forever. Now a new noticing comes. Off to one side, partly hidden by flowering vines, rests a space meant just for you. Not grandiose, but perfect in its fittingness. Every detail calls softly to some deep part of your being, promising rest beyond what even this heavenly landscape can offer. The path there glows gently, not demanding, but ready when you are. It's been waiting forever. This place prepared for you before time began, and now the moment has come to enter in. As you walk along the path, something catches your eye, an archway nearly hidden by vines. The flowers turn toward you as you approach, their petals opening wider in welcome. This isn't one of heaven's grand halls or shining towers. It's simpler, quieter, and somehow immediately familiar. Your steps slow without you deciding to. Every instinct says this place was meant for you. The doorway fits you perfectly. Not too wide, not too narrow. Its curved top just high enough you don't need to duck. Running your fingers along the frame, you feel slight ridges beneath the smooth wood. Looking closer, you realize they're tiny carvings, moments from your life rendered in delicate lines. That afternoon fishing with your grandfather, the night you held your newborn niece, the quiet morning you finally forgave yourself. Each memory sits patiently in the grain, honored not just by you, but by the one who walked with you through them all. Inside, the colors adjust as you enter. Walls that first appeared soft blue deepen to the exact shade that always calmed you back home. The light shifts gently to match the golden hour glow you loved most on earth. Never fading, never glaring. Windows show views that change based on where your gaze lingers. Rolling hills one moment, ocean waves the next. Each landscape speaking to a different part of your soul. Nothing shouts for attention. Everything simply fits. Every surface answers your touch differently. The table by the window smooths under your palms like aged oak, while the chair cushions soften like your grandmother's lap. The blankets draped nearby weigh just enough to comfort without trapping. Books on the shelves require no titles. They fall open to passages meant for whatever thoughts you carry. One page shows your childhood street in spring, another, a recipe from someone you loved but lost too soon. Each volume holds pieces of your story, arranged with care beyond what any human hand could manage. A small display shelf catches your attention. Items rest there, not trophies or achievements, but ordinary things made sacred by meaning. That crooked clay mug your child made you. The pocket knife your father trusted you to carry. The notebook where you scribbled midnight prayers. Earthly eyes would see only worn objects, but here their true worth shines clear. Each one represents a moment when grace broke through, when love proved stronger than circumstance. They aren't dusty relics. They hum quietly with ongoing life, testifying to joys that never really end. A breeze slips through the open window, carrying scents that shift with your mood. Fresh bread when you feel wistful, rain on pine when you need clearing, citrus when joy stirs. None overwhelm. The air knows exactly what to bring and when to retreat. In one corner, a basin of water adjusts its temperature to your fingertips before you even touch it. The whole space anticipates you like a friend who's known you forever. The back wall shimmers slightly. Moving closer, you realize it holds glimpses of what's yet to come. Not full pictures, but promises. A reunion you've longed for. A question you'll finally understand. Work that will make your heart sing. They glow faintly, not pressing for attention, but always present, assuring you that the best chapters aren't behind you. The scenes shift slowly, matching the pace of your breathing, never rushing, never demanding. Sitting down at last, you notice how everything supports you differently than in heaven's wider spaces. The chair conforms to your shape perfectly. The floor tilts just enough to cradle your feet. Even the air thickens slightly around your shoulders like an embrace. None of it feels confining, only deeply, completely right. You realize no human architect could have designed this. Every detail required knowledge of you that surpasses what even you possess. Shelves hold objects you don't recognize, yet somehow know. Tools for joys you haven't discovered. Vessels for love not yet given. They wait patiently, unassuming, confident you'll reach for them when the time comes. One small box pulses gently when you glance at it. Something sacred waits inside, meant for a moment still ahead. You feel no urge to peek. Here, patience comes naturally, trust effortless. The peace here differs from the rest of heaven. It's not just the absence of trouble or the presence of joy. It's the certainty of being fully known and utterly safe. Your earthly home had locked doors and guarded thoughts. Even heaven's grand vistas, while breathtaking, couldn't hold you so personally. This place fits like your own skin. No adjusting required. No explanations needed. Every corner whispers, "I made this for you." Looking around at the careful details, you realize this wasn't thrown together at your arrival. The wear on the doorframe suggests someone leaning there for ages. The chair carries the faintest impression where others sat, keeping it warm for you. The whole space feels lived in already, not by strangers, but by those who prepared it with you in mind. They've been waiting far longer than you've been journeying. Rest comes deeper here than anywhere else. Not sleep exactly, but perfect stillness, your mind quiet, your body weightless, your soul settled. The light dims to match your slowing breath. Sounds soften further, becoming lullabies without melody beneath the rhythm of the place itself. The whisper of turned pages, the sigh of contented wood, the distant chime of something like wind through crystal. Tomorrow holds more exploring, more reunions, more wonders, but those can wait. For now, this one perfect space cradles you completely. However vast heaven's glories prove to be, they'll always lead back here, to the place made just for you. The door remains open, but you've no desire to leave. Not tonight, not when you're finally, truly home. Now let yourself sink into this holy rest. The softest rain begins outside, its rhythm timed to your breathing. Each drop sings comfort against leaves and stone, wrapping around your sanctuary like a lullaby from the world itself. Heaven's gates remain open. This isn't goodbye. just the sweetest pause before tomorrow's joys begin anew. Your eternal home stands ready whenever you wake. For now, simply rest, held in the place prepared for you before time began. The warmth here isn't like anything you've felt before. It doesn't come from fire or sunlight, though both exist in this place. This heat lives deeper, not on your skin, but in your bones, like drinking hot tea on a winter day and feeling it spread through your whole body. Yet there's no risk of burning. The warmth knows exactly how much you can take and never crosses that line. It's the kind of heat that makes you sigh without realizing it, muscles unclenching after years of tension you forgot you carried. Cold doesn't exist here, not just the absence of it. The very idea of chill seems silly now. That permanent slight shiver you lived with on Earth, the one you only noticed when it disappeared, it's gone completely. Even memories of winter lose their edge. You try recalling snow against your face, but the mental image doesn't bring the associated sting. Frostbite, numb fingers, aching joints, they belong to some other life, some other body that wasn't made for this place. The sunlight touches you differently. On Earth, even pleasant sunshine could turn harsh by midday. Here, the light never overstays its welcome. It rests on your skin like a parent's kiss on a sleeping child's forehead, barely there, yet full of love. You can stare directly at its source without squinting, seeing shapes in the glow that should be blinding, but somehow aren't. The warmth that gives adjusts perfectly, stronger when you stretch out on the grass, softer when you sit beneath a tree's shade. Night falls gently, but brings no drop in temperature. The air doesn't grow cooler, just changes its quality of warmth, like swapping a sunbeam's brightness for a cool, steady comfort. Stars shine down with their own gentle heat, their light carrying the same nurturing presence as the daytime sun. You could sleep uncovered on open ground and never feel a draft. The darkness itself seems to radiate warmth, wrapping around you like steam from a bath long after the water's gone. Every surface holds perfect temperature. Stone benches don't shock with cold when you sit. They greet you already warmed, as if anticipating your touch. Streams flow at just the right coolness to refresh without chilling. Even the grass beneath your feet stays pleasantly temperate, never too hot or too damp. You walk barefoot without checking for sharp rocks or stickers, because nothing here could hurt you. The ground itself seems alive with welcome, adjusting to your needs before you voice them. The air hugs you like a favorite childhood blanket, the one you dragged everywhere until it frayed. It presses close without smothering, thick with comfort but never heavy. Breathing feels like being embraced from the inside, each inhale filling your lungs with reassurance. That old chest tightness you thought was normal, the slight catch before a full breath, it's vanished completely. Your ribs expand fully now, unrestricted by cold or worry or earthly limitations. This warmth does more than comfort. It heals. Old scars you'd forgotten throb briefly, then quiet forever. Aches from injuries decades past rise to the surface one last time before dissolving like sugar in tea. Even emotional wounds warm and soften, their sharp edges rounding until they become simply part of your story rather than sources of ongoing pain. The heat works its way into those hidden places you couldn't reach yourself. Loosening knots you didn't know could be untied. People's touch carries this same perfect warmth. Hugs don't end too quickly here. Hands hold yours as long as you need, never growing clammy or limp. Even casual brushes, a shoulder bump, fingers briefly touching, leave behind traces of that deep, abiding heat. You realize how often earthly contact had been hesitant, guarded against potential rejection or overstepping. Here, every touch speaks only love, without subtext or fear. You notice children playing freely, never red-faced from overheating or shivering in wet clothes. Their laughter rings through air that sustains them perfectly, never too harsh on small lungs. Elderly faces glow with healthy color, no longer drawn tight against winter winds or summer sun. Every age exists in comfort, bodies working exactly as designed without environmental stresses, to fight against. The warmth accommodates all equally, giving exactly what each person requires. Food and drink match this perfect temperature. Soup stays hot without burning your tongue. Fruit refreshes without being icy. Bread breaks open steaming, its heat lasting as long as you take to eat it. Nothing cools prematurely or overheats. Everything exists at the ideal warmth for enjoyment. Even the act of eating warms you further, each bite adding to the contentment spreading through your limbs. This isn't just physical warmth, it's love made tangible. The heat you feel is the nearness of God Himself, radiating through creation like sunlight through stained glass. Every warm surface, every gentle breeze, every perfectly heated meal, they're all reflections of a love too vast to comprehend directly. The comfort Scripture promised wasn't metaphorical. It's here, real as the ground beneath you, holding you securely in the everlasting arms. Now let the silence settle around you. Not the empty quiet of loneliness, but the full stillness of complete peace. The warmth remains, steady as ever, as sounds gradually soften into perfect hush. Even your own breathing slows to match the rhythm of this holy quiet. The air still holds you, the light still glows, but all grows gently still. Not cold, never cold, just peacefully, perfectly quiet at last. At first, you notice what's missing: the hum of electronics, the rustle of movement, the distant sounds of life happening elsewhere. But as you settle into this quiet, you realize it's not empty. The silence here feels thick, like heavy velvet drapes, absorbing noise not to stifle, but to make space for something better. Your ears don't strain against it. They relax, as if finally free from work they weren't designed to do. This silence isn't just the absence of sound. It vibrates softly beneath hearing, resonating in your chest more than your ears. You feel it in your jaw first. That subtle tension from years of clenching against noise now melting away. Then comes the quiet behind your eyes, the space between thoughts clearing like fog lifting from a morning lake. Even your skin seems to hear this stillness, absorbing it through every pore until your whole body settles into the hush. Thoughts move differently here. Not the racing chatter you're used to. No to-do lists replaying. No imaginary conversations. No critical inner voice pointing out flaws. Your mind grows still without effort, like a snow globe left undisturbed until every flake settles perfectly. Ideas come when needed, then depart without lingering. The mental static that followed you through life, the background noise of worry and planning, it's simply gone, leaving clarity you didn't know was possible. Memories rise gently in this quiet. That embarrassing moment from 5th grade floats by without bringing heat to your cheeks. The argument you replayed endlessly appears briefly, then loses its power to disturb. Even joyful memories lose their bitter edges. You can recall your wedding day without sad comparisons to how things turn out later. Each thought rests light as dandelion fluff, present but not burdensome, acknowledged then released back into the silence that holds them. The stillness wraps around you like arms you didn't know you missed. It's the quiet of your mother rocking you to sleep, the hush of snow blanketing the world outside childhood windows, the peace of deep night when even insects sleep. But deeper, a silence that doesn't just pause noise but transforms it, making room for something better beneath. You realize this is how quiet was meant to feel all along, before the world taught you to fear stillness and fill every gap with sound. Closing your eyes deepens the experience. Darkness behind your lids doesn't bring disorientation, but focus. Without visual distractions, you notice new layers to the silence. The nearly inaudible pulse of your own being, the soft rhythm of creation humming beneath everything. It's not the tinnitus-like ringing of earthly quiet, but something alive and tender, humming just below hearing like a lullaby only your soul knows the words to. Peace settles heavier in this silence than any noise could provide. That tightness between your shoulder blades, the one massages never quite reached, unwinds completely. Your forehead smooths, the slight furrow you didn't know you carried disappearing forever. Breathing slows beyond what you thought possible. Each exhale longer than the last until you're barely breathing at all, just allowing air to move through you as it will, without conscious effort. The silence speaks in its own way, not with words, but with presence. Secrets you've carried for years lose their weight here, not because they're answered, but because they no longer need to be questions. Problems that seemed complicated now appear simple, not solved exactly, but resting comfortably in a larger understanding that makes solving unnecessary. The quiet holds space for things language can't contain, truths too deep for vocabulary. You realize this is what your soul sounds like at rest, not the absence of something, but the fullness of being completely known. All those years searching for peace through music, through nature sounds, through white noise, they were just approaches to this original silence, the one your heart recognized even when your mind forgot. The quiet here doesn't separate you from life. It connects you more deeply than sound ever could. This silence isn't empty. It brims with divine nearness, thick as honey, yet light as mist. Prayer becomes unnecessary, not because you stop communicating, but because every breath now carries unspoken communion. The stillness between you and God shrinks until it disappears completely, leaving only perfect understanding without the need for words to bridge the gap. What once felt like loneliness in quiet moments now feels like companionship. Solitude no longer means being alone, just undistracted, fully present with the one who's been listening all along. The silence holds conversations words could never contain, exchanges too sacred for syllables. Things you've waited a lifetime to express finally find freedom here, not because you voice them aloud, but because the quiet itself carries them where they need to go. Now let this silence deepen further. Notice how it cushions every sound still present. The soft rustle of leaves, the distant song of a single bird. These noises don't interrupt, but accentuate the quiet, like stars shining brighter against a moonless sky. Your own breathing becomes part of the harmony, each inhale and exhale weaving seamlessly into the larger stillness surrounding you. The silence grows heavier in the best way, not oppressively, but like a warm blanket settling over you. Thoughts slow to nearly stopping, not blank, but perfectly ordered, each one precious and unhurried. Time loses meaning in this quiet, moments stretching comfortably without pressure to move on. You could stay here forever, wrapped in this holy hush, and it would be enough. This is the peace Scripture promised, not just the absence of noise, but the presence of perfect stillness, not an escape from life, but a return to how things were always meant to be. The silence doesn't isolate. It connects you to everything true, good, and eternal. Here, in this quiet beyond words, you're finally hearing the sound of your own soul coming home. Now let your body settle into complete rest. Muscles relax without prompting. Tension you forgot you carried dissolving like sugar in warm tea. The silence cradles you gently, deeper than sleep, yet more alert than waking. A perfect stillness that needs nothing added and nothing taken away. Tomorrow's joys will come, but for now, this sacred quiet is enough. At some point you realize you're standing completely still, yet feel more alive than ever. Not the stiff stillness of waiting or the frozen stillness of fear. This is stillness that moves through you like deep water, calm but full of life. Your muscles rest without locking up. Your breath flows without pause. Even your heartbeat seems to steady into a rhythm that could last forever. You're not holding yourself still. Stillness holds you, gently and completely. Movement still happens all around you, but differently now. Leaves sway as if praying rather than just responding to wind. Birds glide on air currents without flapping, their paths smooth and unhurried. Even the light shifts slowly across the ground, taking its time to reveal each blade of grass. Activity exists here, but none of it feels rushed or anxious. Everything moves at the pace it was meant to, with no sense of urgency pushing from behind. Your body finds rest positions it never could on Earth. Sitting for hours doesn't make your legs stiff. Lying down doesn't leave your back sore. Even standing in one spot brings no discomfort. Your weight distributes perfectly, your joints aligning as they were designed to. That subtle shifting you always did without thinking, crossing and uncrossing your legs, rolling your shoulders. There's no need for it here. You can be still and be perfectly comfortable, maybe for the first time ever. The air itself seems to slow with you. Dust motes hang suspended where they would have drifted quickly on Earth. Scents linger exactly as long as they should. The fragrance of flowers neither fading too soon nor overstaying their welcome. Even the warmth around you doesn't fluctuate the way sunlight does through earthly hours. Everything exists in perfect, steady harmony with everything else, each element respecting the other's space and pace. Your thoughts slow to match this stillness, not emptying completely, just settling like leaves in windless air, each one visible and whole before gently floating down. Mental chatter quiets without effort. Plans don't race ahead. Regrets don't circle back. Your mind rests as easily as your body, thoughts coming when invited and leaving when finished. Decisions that would have taken hours of deliberation on Earth now resolve themselves simply, naturally, without struggle. Looking at others nearby, you see the same peace in them. Children play without becoming overexcited. Elders rest without growing stiff. Everyone moves, or doesn't move, with complete contentment. There's no restless energy looking for outlets, no exhaustion begging for breaks. People interact when they want, sit quietly when they don't, all without pressure either way. Even the most active games have a stillness at their center, participants fully present without distraction. Time becomes meaningless in this stillness. What might be 5 minutes or 5 hours passes without you noticing. There's no clock watching, no counting down until the next thing. Moments expand and contract naturally, some stretching long and lovely, others passing quickly but completely. Nothing feels cut short or dragged out. You could stay in this peaceful pause forever and never grow restless, yet never feel stuck either. The stillness isn't frozen. It's alive with possibilities held perfectly in balance. Sounds that do exist take on new qualities in this quiet. A single bird's call carries farther, clearer. Laughter rings without sharp edges. Even your own voice sounds different, not louder or softer, just more at home in the air around it. Noise doesn't invade here the way it did on Earth. Every sound has its proper place and time, neither missing its moment nor overstaying it. The stillness makes room for what matters. Then let's go when the time is right. Your breathing becomes something you notice less and less. Not because it stops, but because it works exactly as it should without any help from you. Air flows in and out with smooth perfection, your lungs expanding fully without effort. That slight but constant awareness of breathing, checking if it's deep enough, if your chest feels tight, it's gone completely. Your body knows what to do here, without you supervising every function. Physical stillness reveals something unexpected. How much of your earthly energy went toward resisting gravity? The weight of limbs, the pull on joints, the constant micro-movements to stay balanced. None of that exists here. Your form floats lightly within itself, neither fighting to stay upright, nor collapsing into rest. You could stand on one leg forever without wavering, yet feel no tension in the act. Motion becomes purely by choice, never from need or reflex. This isn't the stillness of boredom or stagnation. Creativity thrives here. Ideas flow clearer when not chased after. Conversations deepen without time pressure. Even simple observation becomes richer when your whole being can focus without distraction. The peace you feel doesn't dull your senses, but sharpens them, helping you notice details that would have slipped by before. Stillness here isn't about doing nothing. It's about being fully present in whatever you choose. The connection between stillness and movement transforms here. On Earth, they seemed like opposites. You were either still or moving, resting or active. Here they blend perfectly. You can walk for miles while your soul remains at complete rest. You can sit motionless while your spirit soars. The division you once knew between action and peace disappears completely. Every motion comes from a place of deep calm, and every pause feels vibrantly alive. Memories of earthly unrest now seem strange. Why did you fidget through meetings? Why did sleep often bring more tossing than rest? That constant background need to move, adjust, shift. It wasn't normal after all. It was your body and mind protesting conditions they weren't made for. Here, in this stillness, every part of you finally functions as designed, with effortless peace at the center of everything. This is the be still and know that Scripture spoke of. Not a commanded quiet, but a natural state of being. Not forced calm, but deep, abiding peace. The stillness isn't something you create here. It's something you discover was always meant for you. All those moments on earth when you briefly touched this peace, in prayer, in nature, in rare instants of perfect contentment, they were just hints of this reality. Now you're immersed in it completely. Now let this stillness prepare you for what's coming. The warmth around you grows ever so slightly, not hot, but more present. The air thickens just enough to notice. Something, or someone, approaches, not with footsteps, but with a gentle intensifying of everything good. The peace you feel now isn't leaving. It's about to deepen beyond anything you've yet experienced. Rest a little longer in this quiet moment, because soon you'll know the source of all stillness face to face. You know He's near before you see anything change. The air feels different, thicker somehow, but not heavy. More like the moment before a sunrise, when everything waits quietly. The light around you grows brighter, but it doesn't make you squint. Instead, it softens as it intensifies, wrapping around you like a gentle hand. Colors deepen without becoming harsh. Edges of objects glow without glaring. Even the ground beneath you seems to hum quietly, not with sound but with presence. Then you realize you're not afraid. Not like standing before a king or meeting someone powerful on earth. Those fears don't exist here. What you feel is something else entirely, a love so strong it should overwhelm, but instead lifts you up. It presses against your chest, not like weight, but like a child being gathered in strong arms. Your knees don't buckle. They relax completely, finally free from needing to hold you up. He speaks without words forming in the air. His voice isn't heard with your ears, but understood in your soul, like when you know what someone means without them saying it. Except this isn't someone else's thought. It's your own deepest knowing answering itself. Questions you carried for years dissolve before you can ask them. Answers come not as explanations, but as quiet certainty settling into your bones. Things that confuse you on earth now make perfect sense, not because you're told, but because you simply know. Regrets you thought would haunt you forever don't matter here. Not ignored, just seen in a light so clear they lose their power to hurt. Mistakes don't disappear, but they stop being wounds and become stories instead. Future worries can't take root. There's no what if here, only what is. Time collapses gently, past and future kneeling before this eternal now. The things you thought defined you, your job, your achievements, your failures, they're all just faint echoes compared to who He says you are. You're known here, fully. Not just the face you showed the world or the secrets you kept hidden, but every thought, every hope, every quiet wish you never dared speak aloud. And the knowing doesn't bring shame. It brings relief, like finally exhaling after holding your breath for years. He sees the child you were, the adult you became, the person you're becoming, all at once, all loved equally. No pretending, no performing. Just being seen and cherished exactly as you are. Words fail you completely, not because your mind goes blank, but because language feels too small for what's happening. Tears come instead, not the kind that burn or leave you empty, but the kind that overflow from being too full. They run down your face without embarrassment, warm on your skin, carrying away last bits of resistance you didn't know you still held. You don't wipe them away. They belong here, this silent language older than speech. Everything you ever suffered makes sense now, not because it was good, but because it led here. That loneliness, that pain, those long nights, they weren't the end of your story. They were the path to this moment, where every hurt meets its healing. The scales balance completely. No earthly sorrow outweighs the joy of standing here. You'd walk every hard mile again, just to hear him say your name the way he says it now. You realize this is what your soul always wanted. Not just rest, not just peace, but him. Every beautiful thing you saw in heaven, the light, the colors, the stillness, was just the edges of his presence. Every good moment in your life was a whisper of his voice. Every love that lifted you was a shadow of this love holding you now. You weren't made for heaven's streets or angel songs. You were made for this nearness, this closeness, this coming home at last. The longer you stand here, the less you remember how it felt to be separated from him. Earthly struggles start to fade like dreams after waking, real while they lasted, but hard to recall once morning comes. You don't miss them. Not the noise, not the chaos, not the endless trying. Here there's only being, fully known, fully loved, completely at rest in arms that will never let go. Now let this peace carry you. The one who holds all things can certainly hold you as you rest. The heartbeat you feel against your cheek isn't yours or anyone else's. It's the rhythm of life itself, steady and sure. Tomorrow will come, with more wonders than you can imagine. But for now, simply rest. He's not going anywhere. The presence that fills heaven holds you gently. And this time, nothing will take you away. Close your eyes if you like, though here it makes little difference. The light shines through your lids just as clearly. Breathe deeply, though your lungs know exactly what to do without your help. Let go completely, though you're already held so securely you couldn't fall if you tried. This is peace beyond understanding. Not because it doesn't make sense, but because it makes more sense than anything ever has. Sleep in heaven isn't escape, it's deeper communion. The quiet grows fuller around you, wrapping you in layers of comfort. The light dims just enough, colors softening around the edges. Even the air seems to hush, pressing gently against your skin like a weighted blanket made of mist. You drift without dizziness, held in arms stronger than gravity, loved beyond all reason, home beyond all doubt. The gates aren't closing, they're wide open. This isn't goodbye, just rest before greater joy. Tomorrow will be even sweeter, but for now, simply sleep, safe, known, and finally home. Your eyelids grow heavy, but not the way they did on earth. Not from exhaustion, just from perfect contentment. Sleep here isn't about escaping. It's about sinking deeper into what you've already found. Your earthly body would call this unconsciousness, but your soul knows better. This is awareness settling into its truest form. The golden light dims by degrees, not vanishing but softening like a lamp turned low beside a bed. The air around you nestles closer, warm as blankets fresh from the dryer. Sounds simplify without disappearing. The distant choir's harmonies shrink to single notes, floating separately like bells heard across water. The rustle of leaves becomes whispers too quiet to understand. Even your own breathing slows to match the rhythm of the trees around you. Inhaling with the upward sweep of branches, exhaling with their gentle fall. These aren't fading noises. They're sounds distilled to their purest lullabies, singing you deeper without words. Your thoughts don't race or fight sleep as they once did. They drift like petals on a slow-moving stream, each one lingering just long enough to be appreciated before floating on. That unfinished conversation from earlier, it waits patiently for morning. The wonders you saw today, they'll be there when you wake. Your mind lets go without resistance, not shutting down, but settling into a quieter, deeper way of knowing. You float without moving, held secure in arms stronger than gravity. The ground beneath you adjusts perfectly, firming where you need support, yielding where comfort calls for it. There's no tossing or turning, no searching for the cool side of the pillow. Rest comes naturally, like snowfall with no wind to disturb it. Your earthly body would twist in sheets, muscles twitching from the day's residue. Here, your form lies peaceful as still water, every part aligned exactly as it should be. Time doesn't matter in this rest. What feels like minutes could be hours. What seems like deep sleep might be wide awake wonder. The usual markers don't apply. No sunrise to track, no alarm to dread. You simply exist in this quiet space between today's joys and tomorrow's discoveries. The gates remain wide open, assurance that this isn't goodbye, just a pause, a breath in the endless song you've joined. Dreams come differently here, not the chaotic replays of earthly sleep, but rich continuations of what you've already experienced. You might walk further down that flowered path without opening your eyes. The voices of loved ones might speak without disturbing your rest. Some moments feel like memories when you wake. Did you actually visit that crystal river, or did it come to you? The lines blur beautifully between dreaming and being, each state as real as the other. Your sanctuary remembers you perfectly when you return to it. The pillows know exactly how your head rests. The blankets arrange themselves without your tugging. Even the air carries faint traces of the scent you love best. Honeysuckle maybe, or fresh-cut cedar. Just enough to notice when you're still enough to breathe deeply. Nothing distracts. Nothing itches or pokes or demands adjustment. Every detail conspires to support your rest. Heaven's sounds continue around you, muted but present. Water trickles somewhere distant, keeping time like a metronome set to eternity's tempo. The occasional bird note floats through the air, not an alarm call, just a sleepy chirp to say all's well. Far off, someone laughs softly, the sound carrying neither envy nor urgency. These aren't interruptions, but reassurances. Life goes on peacefully as you rest, undisturbed and undisturbing. You realize heaven doesn't need darkness for sleep. The light simply changes quality, glowing from within rather than shining from above. Your closed eyelids don't bring blackness, but rich colors shifting slowly. Deep blues that soothe, soft golds that warm. Patterns emerge without meaning, beautiful simply because beauty is their nature. There's nothing to decode here, nothing to interpret, just loveliness to receive effortlessly. Breathing becomes thoughtless, not automatic so much as one with everything around you. Air moves in and out without lungs straining, more like the tide's eternal rhythm than bodily labor. Your chest rises and falls almost invisibly, each cycle longer than the last, until you're not sure where your breath ends and the world begins. The division never mattered anyway. You've always shared air with creation, traded breath with trees, passed molecules back and forth with every living thing. Tomorrow's joys won't be rushed by your eagerness. They'll come at exactly the right moment, unfolding as beautifully as today's did. Friends not yet seen will wait patiently for your awakening. Meals will warm precisely when you're ready for them. Every new wonder will remain fresh no matter when you discover it. Nothing spoils here. Nothing fades from waiting. The gates stand open because no opportunity will be missed. No moment lost to sleeping too long. Someone, or someone, sits beside you as you rest, not looming watchfully, but settled comfortably nearby, like a parent reading in a chair while the child drifts off. No words are needed, yet presence communicates everything. Love isn't declared here. It simply is thicker than the air, warmer than the light, quieter than the hush around you. Whoever keeps vigil doesn't do so out of duty, but because there's nowhere else they'd rather be just now. The gentle rain starts as you hover at sleep's edge, not the drumming downpour of storms, but the soothing patter that makes roofs and trees sing softly. Drops tap leaves like fingertips on piano keys, each tone blending into the next. The rhythm slows your thoughts further, though they were nearly still already. Water's ancient song reminds without words. You're loved, you're safe, you're home. Tomorrow will come, but right now, rest is enough. Your last waking thought isn't really a thought at all, just a quiet knowing that everything is exactly as it should be. No clenched jaw, No racing pulse, no lingering tension anywhere. Just peace, deep, simple, and complete. The rain continues its lullaby as you finally stop noticing it, carried past the edge of wakefulness on a current made of grace. The gates stand open. Tomorrow waits. For now, simply rest. Heaven is closer than you think, just a breath away. So, as you rest tonight, let this vision of golden gates and gentle light stay with you as you drift off to sleep. Picture the warm air wrapping around you, the colors shifting peacefully behind your closed eyelids. Wherever you are right now, you're held by the same love we walked through in this journey. Before you sleep, leave a comment below sharing where you're listening from. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more peaceful stories. Now close your eyes, breathe deeply, and rest knowing this peace is yours to keep. God bless you and good night.